Hello and welcome to UniVerse Touch Money Moves. Here, week after week, we paint a completely new narrative about the human of the future and the reality of the future and the reality of the now, because we're starting now. Here, you can be both spiritual and wealthy. You can care for the world deeply, and you can still create an extraordinary life for yourself. In the last episode, we talked about money myths, some of the most common myths. We've been sold, or they used to be true and they're not anymore, that completely transforms the way we see money. And if you had the chance to dive into them, you might have realized that even one of the myths can create an extraordinary difference in your life. Today, we're going to go into the theme of how money can move in and out of our lives and how each one of us is supposed to create a unique money blueprint for themselves. To give you a little bit of a backstory, over the years of my life, I have changed identities and have changed a lot how I was operating in relation to business, money, profession, and life itself. And I start observing that in different phases of my life, I believed or I saw money in a very different way. So I came to realize that there's very different ways that money is supposed to move, and depending on the consciousness that you are tapped into, and I will go deeper into that, you will be having different ways that you see money and different ways that money is supposed to come to you and flow out of you. So, over my life, I have been an employee. I have been a child that was being taken care of before, then an employee. Then I have been a creative. Then I have been an entrepreneur and an investor. And I realized that all of these types of consciousness operate completely differently. So let's take it one by one and see what is the common perception of each one of these types and what could be an expanded or enlightened perception about money according to the type that you're embodying right now or that you wish to embody in the future. So let's start from one of the most common codes or states, which is the state of being an employee. The employee usually is very happy to be receiving a stable and predictable income by the end of the month. And that's very common. And yet, what we don't realize is that having this type of money inflow directly limits us from being able to be creative with money. So being able to come up with ideas, how do we generate and circulate money? There is, just to make that clear, there's nothing that is right or wrong. There's just ways of seeing things. And today we're not supposed to say this is right and this is wrong. We're just supposed to explore if the ways that all of us are operating with money can have an enhanced version, or if it doesn't fit us anymore, how we can switch to another one. So the employee, he's practically trading security for creativity. What very often happens is that does create a very stable foundation that you're able to predict how your future will be, and that can feel very good in your system. But it also limits you from becoming creative. So over time, that can end up making you smaller or making you more numb or making you slower because you're not in the process of thinking creatively about new ways of creating, using, and allowing money to flow out of you. So this is the employee archetype. Then the next step, we have the entrepreneur. For entrepreneurs, the most common way of operating with money is going for investment. And while this is a very common approach in the entrepreneurial world, what I have come to realize is that very few startups actually need capital in the beginning, and they could very much go way far into their creation, into their business, by simply creating a process, a product, or a service that creates happy clients. So we could definitely go for investment, and there's always a right time to go for that. But we can also think that what we are building is actually a viable business. And we may want to just start focusing into creating a viable business and use investment to grow what is already working instead of using the investment capital to prove that we have something of value, which is very, very, very common in the entrepreneurial world. Or you can use both in different aspects and different ratios and see where's the right time for everything. And this is the very common entrepreneurial pattern. Then we have the investor pattern that is somehow different, somehow similar with the trader. So the investor is usually wanting to be as much hands-off as possible and searching for opportunities that will make his investment grow, multiply, ideally. And while this is a very common practice and a very good practice for investment, what most investors haven't explored yet is that when you start investing in causes and projects and industries that you actually very much care about, eventually you will end up experiencing a very high growth or money flowing into you in very unusual ways. And this is something that is very new. It's going into the direction of impact investing, but I believe it applies in all types of industries. The more you connect your energy, your belief, what you stand for, and you back it up with your money, with your investments, the more you're actually supporting the world that you want to see in the future. And the more excited and fully behind what you do you are. So you're actually matching your energetic capacity with your financial capacity. And I have seen that this blend is actually the most powerful blend we can ever create. And we're just in the beginnings of exploring that in depth in the world. We're doing that quite deeply in the universe of Aelia Kos, of how this can be a model, can become a model, how we can have examples of that. How does that actually exactly works? And how do we streamline it so it actually becomes a model for the future? Then we have the model, the type of the creatives. And the creatives tend to believe that the newest, the next, the innovation, it will be what creates the wealth for them. In the counterpart of that, which is a very natural tendency for the creatives, because that's exactly why we call them creatives, this is their biggest force. This is their biggest driving power, the creativity. But what is in the counterpart of that is that they don't pay attention into actually building a brand awareness and a continuity in their message. And this many times confuses other people instead of allowing it to grow exponentially, adding up new things without breaking down the ones that are there before. So there is an underlying belief in the creatives that if it didn't work directly, it will not work financially. And this is actually not true, because many times the creatives, we are, and I'm putting myself into that, we are ahead of our times. So many times we create something that the world is yet to become ready for. But if we just expect that the results will come automatically, if not, we just place it into the box of this didn't work financially, then we have lost the capacity of building upon and creating momentum over time. So So there's nothing wrong about creating new things, and being in the creative wave will always move you to create the next step. At the same time, it can be on top of the previous step. So it feels like a continuity and something that keeps expanding instead of something that is breaking and breaking and breaking and breaking. And these are the most common types in our world right now. What I have come to realize is that there is not one correct type. And we can also be a blend of all of them, or we can pick the elements from each one of them and create our very own unique blueprint about how we receive money, we generate money, we invest money, and we give away money. So I have seen time and again that there is no one way that fits all. And I have also caught myself many times thinking or being sold, being made believe that I need to follow a particular way because this is the way that works. And surprise, surprise, you follow that way and you realize that maybe it has worked for the person who's promoting it, but it doesn't work at all for you. And this is a very interesting aspect to explore. Why a thing that has worked amazingly for one person will not work for the other person? This has to do with who you are, how is you love the most to receive, how is the best use of your energy, and what would you like to see in the world? What would you like to experience, and what would you like to create? So, for example, I am a person who absolutely loves receiving magic money. And yet, many times, I have caught into months and months, if not years, of trying to create predictable income. Just because predictable income has been glorified, especially in the coaching world, I believed that that's the way to go. And then I realized that every time I was trying to make that happen, I felt contracted, it felt difficult, it kind of felt wrong. I couldn't come with the right plan. I was blocked. And when we are blocked, we're literally blocking the inflow. And money is supposed to be a flow. It does come in, it nourishes in all the parts, in our personal lives, in our investments, in our business, in our friendship, in our circle. So we nurture all the ecosystem through the inflow, and then it flows out. And it doesn't flow out, actually, it flows to another person to nourish their ecosystem. So this belief of money coming in, going out, this doesn't really go out and doesn't really come in. It just comes from somebody else and it moves to somebody else. So we can receive it as a blessing and we can send it out as a prayer. We receive it and we say, thank you so much, because this beautiful ecosystem that I have built around myself exists because of you. And when you're allowing to flow out, you know that it's supporting another ecosystem of another person on this world. And the more you allow this to happen, usually you tap into more financial abundance. One of the examples that I would like to bring to you today has been a mind-blowing example for myself. Was that one. It was March. It was like 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. And I remember writing on my phone that by next year, by next March, I will be in a 10x of what I am receiving right now as revenue in my business. And I put it on my calendar, interestingly enough. And then I forgot. Time went by, life happened. I actually had to stop and close that brand, which I believed would be growing into a 10x in a year, a few months after. So I completely discarded this idea. I'm like, okay, this is not happening, it's fine. And I just continue. And I enter also in a field that I was having very minimum external activity. And I was working a lot in my personal development, which is phases that I go through. There's a lot of external activity, there's a lot of internal activity. And this is my way of operating. And you have to find your own. And then I remember the moment I'm in an airplane, and I have in the airplanes, I just love these long flights. I'm one of the people, it's like, give me transatlantic flights. I love them because I feel that I'm in between worlds. I have left one country and I haven't yet arrived in the next one. So I'm not touching ground, I'm not touching the earth. And that gives me a sense that I am able to expand my awareness and not being connected to any of the cultural tendencies of the two places, neither the one I'm living, neither the one I'm going. So I enter these incredible explorations during flights. So if you ever catch me in a flight and you see me typing in my phone, you can be sure I'm downloading. I'm downloading content, I'm downloading ideas, I'm opening my new steps, like things are happening. And I'm going through my calendar just to see how the previous months were and if there were some highlights or something that would trigger my awareness. And for some reason, I just go and say, okay, what was happening last year this time? Let me just check. And I open my phone and I tap into the message that says 10x by next year. I'm like, that's interesting. I had completely forgotten about that. I land and I receive a call, a text message actually, it was from my mother, that she just confirmed that the sale that we had going on for a while had just gone through, and the amount of my part of that particular property has been transferred to my account today. And it was exactly 10x from the number I was receiving as revenue the year before. That moment, I literally stopped in awe of how the universe works, how money works, how intention works, and how we never realize which are the paths of least resistance for us trying to make money from the parts that might be difficult for some reason. So understand that, like, I had sent the message, the clear desire that by next year, this month, I will be receiving a 10x. And exactly those dates, this happened from a completely different source from what I was thinking. I could very easily go into self-blame and guilt and say, oh yeah, but that was not me directly creating it from my own business, from the brand that I thought I will grow, da 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 da. And discarding the magic of what I desired happening precisely in numbers and timing. Thank God I was able to drop in such a deep state of bliss and gratitude and awe for the ways of the universe, that something clearly opened and made me realize part of the things I'm sharing with you today. We do that all the time. We want things to happen in a particular way, and if they don't happen this way, we register them in our awareness as they didn't happen. And if there's somebody next to us looking at us and looking at our reality, they will say, like, hello, this just happened, just from a completely different route. And that's a very very important part about money. Oftentimes, we are supposed to give to one person and not receive from the same source. Actually, most of the times. Because most of the times we're in the position to give somewhere and we're in the position to be the receiver from somewhere else. So, and we tend to want to receive from the same person we have given, but it goes against some of the most fundamental laws of the universe, of reciprocity. So, how about we just open our awareness and say, I am receiving from the least resistant way, and I'm giving to the least resistant way because that feels natural, it feels nourishing, and it feels full. What a different way of connecting and relating to money if we go like that. So, while I love receiving magic money, it connects me to the universe, it connects me to myself, it connects me to the whole. It proves my model that life is not linear. It brings all the parts of me into the picture when it happens. And somebody tell me, by the way, I am transferring you XYZ for XYZ that you did at some point. I had no idea, I had forgotten, it's gone, it was out of alignment, never thought about it again. And it created abundance for somebody else, and they're just happy to share it with me. I love receiving in such a way. It feels like magic. But I know people that will be completely stressed out to be in this field, and they would just love to know exactly how much it comes, exactly when it comes, and exactly where it will go. Otherwise, their system will crash. For me, having such predictability actually feels limiting. It doesn't connect me, it disconnects me. I love having buckets that open and close and that I can nourish, and this can create more, and we tap into infinite potential. And that's how we also work with my clients and our members in the club. We're like, let's see what is the best that can happen. Tell me your wildest dreams. Tell me what you don't even yourself are able to believe that could happen during this 1 hour, a few days, couple of weeks that we have together. Let's see what comes through. Guess what? Many times, resources, people, opportunities, everything just flows through straight on. We become a conduit. The connection becomes a conduit for abundance. The last time we experienced that was last year. I'm in the wonderful villa of a dear connection in Los Angeles. And we're just connecting and speaking out what is true for us, what is the wish, and also what are the difficulties. So just very open conversation, communication, very deep connection. And all of a sudden, things start popping in the reality of this client of mine. In 10 days, it was less than 10 days, this person was able to receive 9K in cash out of completely new ways from what he had already established. He didn't have to move a finger. It just flew in. It flew in from having incredible conversations, because it's not about the conversation. It's about you allowing yourself to desire, allowing yourself to express, allowing yourself to ask. And then money just finds the way of least resistance into your system. That's it. You have to be prepared, you have to be open. But money does find its ways always. So, I have, throughout the years of working with people who have completely unconventional ways into wealth, and because of that, also very unconventional beliefs about wealth, I had several stories of people who have either create their wealth in the most unique, extraordinary, crazy, weird ways, or they are sharing their abundance with a completely different mindset. An example that I love to give is an example of a very dear connection that was an artist in New York. So he was a kind of a broke artist in New York. So he was tapping into the creative type, right? He was tapped into that. He was doing paintings, selling them, living out of that. New York is a very expensive city. So he was constantly on the grind, but also in the let's create the next step. And for extremely weird twists of turn, he ended up getting involved into international real estate business, and he ended up actually getting into court for something that had very little to do with him. He was practically scammed into that. Because of that, though, he realized that when he had nothing to lose, because he had nothing to lose, he tapped into becoming an extraordinary negotiator that he didn't even know he was. He had no idea, no overview of this skill of him. And by that, he ended up in a law case. Actually, it was a law case about the Empire State Building with Trump. And he ended up creating his whole wealth out of this case that could have been categorized as a pure misfortune, misleading of life, into going to court for something that you have not done. The story continues in an extremely interesting way, and now he's one of the greatest hosts for transformation in the outskirts of Paris in a beautiful chateau. But this turn of his life and how money actually initiated him by not being in his life, and then how when he grew into who he was supposed to become, a huge amount came into his hands, because that's how it usually happens. First we grow personally, then we grow our wealth. It's not vice versa. And that allowed him to tap into a whole new narrative and change completely his type from a creative to an entrepreneur to an investor and what I call now a money wizard. So some of the best money wizards I have ever encountered in my life, they understand and use wealth in an extremely different way than the most common things we hear about money. Once we had an investor who simply transferred 50K for a particular initiative. It was an event, a conference to happen. And he didn't even got the chance to speak in this conference. And when I later asked him, how do you feel about that? You didn't even get the slot. It's like, Aelia, this action needed to happen. That was clear. I was able to support. That was clear. He will come to me from a different whole way. I have zero doubt about that. He would just what was meant to happen. And this approach completely blew my mind, because back then I was very much into the entrepreneur mindset. That investors need to see their ROI, either in impact, exposure, or money, otherwise they will not even chip a dollar. And here it is a person who completely understands the reciprocity of financial flow, and also his role and the power, the correct power that money gives you, which is to support what you believe because you can. And also knowing very deeply that you will be rewarded tenfold from all the other ways that are the ways of least resistance that you receive. So we were the way of least resistance for him to give. And he is the way of least resistance for other people to give. So he knew that by creating least resistance to give out, all the ways that he was receiving would be tenfold. But he was not doing it for that. He just knew that this is a rule, and he was completely in peace for not even getting a slot for a conference he had paid several years back, 50K. And this is the state of a money wizard that many of us are growing into. I know very, very few that operate in this level, but we are becoming more and more, because in this age and time, we are both tapping into our spirituality and our money simultaneously. And also we have more information from others. And I am extremely excited to see how inside the UniVerse Club, inside our private club, we can actually accelerate that and also fully perceive it. Because by now, the people who are doing it, they're doing it more intuitively. But we haven't yet created a system and a framework that we say, okay, this is how it generally works. You have to find your way in it, but that's how the system works differently. And that's exactly what we are experiencing and documenting. So oftentimes people ask me, what happens in the UniVerse experiences? Or what happens inside the club? And I smile and I tell them, I know what has happened until now for the previous participants. We had businesses that started, we had people fundraising, people flying each other, hiring them, people falling in love, people making babies. Actually, that's very recent. But I have no clue what will happen for you, because that depends highly on you. I will open and hold the highest potential. But depending how much you will onboard on that with me, the results can be literally beyond your wildest imagination and with minimal effort. Actually, with more joy and bliss and sharing than effort. And when people realize that this is possible, first they believe it's me. Then they realize it's us. Then they realize it's actually us and the universe in collaboration. And it's always like that. It's not me. It's not just me. It's not just them. It's not just the universe. We need all the three layers. We need the person who's able to see you and believe in you and say, you can go for the highest. Just go for it. I can see it in you. It's clear. You got it. Just say it. Tell me. What is it? What are you dreaming of? Then it's the person who opens up and say, actually, what I would really want is da, da, da. And then the universe is like, oh, I heard that. That's clear. Let me just judge a few things and make it happen. And make it happen so effortlessly that you just look at it and you're like, whoa, okay, that's way bigger than I could ever even think. I'm like, yeah. Because the universe is infinite. We are finite. We have a limited capacity to perceive things. Even if we're very expanded, we still have a limited capacity to perceive things. The universe doesn't have this limitation. So why are we constantly trying to only do or allow to come in what we are able to perceive? Why don't we let this control? Why don't we let go of the resistance and allow the magic and invite the magic? Not expect the magic exactly. Just know that it happens all the time at the right time. So these are some of the ways that money moves, the money ways. And depending what you love the most, what feels like no resistance in your system. So which type feels non-resistant, which way feels non-resistant. So go and look into your life. Where do you feel the happiest, the most expanded, the most like a small child? When money comes in, like how? And also, when do you tap into his joy and playfulness? When money goes out, how? When you pay for something you love? When you pay for something you love, you have searched for a long time? When you just find something and it's perfect? When you give to somebody else? When you buy a gift to somebody else? When you support somebody to make their dreams? When do you feel this like, oh my God, that's just perfect? That's perfect way to receive. That's perfect way to give. It's just perfect. Because this is your unique blueprint. And just start picking all of these aspects and bring those into your life, bring more of those into your business. And the more you do that, the more, first of all, you will feel amazing. Second, it will come more effortlessly and it will go more effortlessly. And that will create double expansion. And third, you will start realizing the uniqueness of who you are and the uniqueness of your blueprint. And I strongly believe that each one of us, we are supposed to become the most crystalline version of who we are. We are not supposed to become a copy of somebody else. We are supposed to become ourselves, uniquely us. And that's what I have been describing in our latest course, which is called Unify. It's to start from being uniquely who you are, and then you end up being yourself. So all the ways I'm sharing with you, all the ways I work with my clients, all the aspects we apply into our private club, we do it because I have ended up understanding that in the time that we're living right now, the narrative needs to shift. It's outdated. We create way more expanded narratives. They're actually already in front of our eyes. We're already creating them. We just haven't had the awareness to share enough with others so we can grasp it. We think we are the only ones who are doing it. No, we're not. And that's amazing. Because the more of us are creating financial wealth in different ways, the more it becomes the norm. So more and more and more of us will be able to do so. And financial wealth allows us to not remain in the survival mode and truly create what we're supposed to create in this life and who we're supposed to be in this life. So that's the whole point. Creating wealth to actually be more of you, but also creating wealth and being more of you in the process, because otherwise you lose yourself. And even if you create wealth, it doesn't matter. So we don't want to go there. We want to be creating wealth by being more of who we are. Then it is a gift. Then the world sees it. Then we are really creating the impact we are supposed to do. That's how we are doing it in the universe of Aelia Kos. That's how we support all our members to do it. That's what happens in our experiences, and people get to grasp it and also share it in real time as it's happening. It's super powerful. And that's how the world tomorrow is supposed to be. This episode, this show, is practically created to allow us to connect into this new narrative. So if you had insights, you had downloads, ideas that came out from listening to my words, or if you had experiences that connect to what I'm sharing with you today, please comment, text me, message me. Or if you want to join any of our spaces, also do the same. You can comment here. You can find me on social media as Aelia Kos. You can email me. There's all the ways. If you feel that you're ready to tap deeper into this narrative, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not for everybody, so that's why we have a high selection process, and our experiences are very specific in very specific places, very selected people for now. But if you're ready, you just know it. You'll say, yep, that's it. That's exactly it. And if you're not there yet, our pre recorded courses are to get you ready to be there soon. So it's not that one is better than the other, it's just for different states, different stages of life, different stages of wealth, different stages of awareness. So we can guide you towards your more expanded state. So if you're just starting, start from the Unify course. It's amazing, it's incredible. If you work on that for real, it's short, it's 4 calls of 30 minutes. But if you deepen that, you will unlock your next level. If you're ready for more, start mentorship, start coaching. Find somebody, or if I am the right person, let me know. Work on the aspect that you want to work. Pick it up. Say, okay, I want to focus on that this year, and I'm doing it. And I'm doing it with the right person. If I'm the right person, let me know. If somebody else is the right person, let them know. Go for it. If you already have crossed this layer and say, I'm there, got all the support I need more people who have understood what have understood. Join the club. That's when you're ready. We are starting with experiences. Your first step is to join the experiences where the full activation happens, when you get to meet the other in real space. And then the results are just mind blowing. Then we move on into a whole year of support. We move on to full personalization, both in the tangible and in the intangible, in the spiritual and the material. We go full on into precise timing, precise introduction, precise country, precise way, because then it becomes like an art. And what comes out of it feels like pure magic. Business magic, if we may call it. Just allow yourself to unlock this next level, whatever this is. There's no shame. If you're here, you're here. If you're here, you're here. If you're here, you're here. You're not here. You're just on the spectrum. And we're all of us creating this reality. And the more all of us unlock all the levels up and down, and the more it becomes for everybody. So this is what I wanted to share about the money moves for today. Dive into it, see your patterns, see which ones are the ones that you want to keep, which ones you want to expand, alter, transform. Let me know how was the journey. In the next episode, which will be next Thursday, exactly at the same time, 7 p.m. Central European Time, we will go into wealth for good. And this is a subject that has been discussed a lot, but we will give it another twist, because you need to connect the energetics into what is good. There is no universal good. There's a collective good, but there's no universal truth. So there's no universal good. So we'll start unlocking how you can find the ways to operate with and inside wealth and allow it to flow with to the right part that you are creating your correct impact and legacy. So join me live or watch the replay. Let me know how it felt. I'm very excited for the next episode, as it was for this one. These are big things we're discussing here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being available into unlocking a new reality for yourself, both in your spirituality and in your wealth. This is huge. This is the first time we are having such conversations in the whole human history. It's the first time you can have such a talk, such a speech happening for free on YouTube. This knowledge was only shared behind closed doors. It was never available. So don't make it be less because it's available. Pick it up, dive into it, allow it to transform you, to influence you positively into a whole new level of reality. And share what happened with me. It makes me so excited when years later or months later, I receive messages from people we just had a deep conversation at some point. And it has completely transformed the way they see life, the way they do their businesses, the way they work with their money. It's a gift back. I love that. So please share with me. That gives me fuel to understand it further, to share it better, to have more examples to share with you so it makes it more vivid for others. It's powerful. Don't underestimate that. Thank you so much for being here. See you in the next one. And I wish you a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.